Okay. All right. So it looks like things have slowed down. We're ready to go. Everyone can see the slides. Everyone can hear me okay.
I can hear you.
Thank you, Shirley. Can you see the slides? Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, Victoria. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tim Robbie. I'm the Associate Dean of Academic Affairs in the Graduate School. Thanks for attending this workshop information session today. Want to hopefully answer any questions and provide information that will make this process of writing and eventually submitting your dissertation or thesis a little easier. And so we have some slides prepared to go through and talk about some important things that over the past few years have raised some questions and confusion. So we'd like to try to address those at the get-go. With me today from the graduate school office, we have Alfred Lopez, who's the coordinator for the PhD in Nursing Science and Health Sciences, and Alex DeJesus, who you'll see here in a minute. Alex is very instrumental in this entire process, and so she knows the nuts and bolts of these steps more than anyone, and so she'll help walk us through some of the ProQuest and Turnitin issues and questions. And Tiffany Thompson is here. Tiffany is the new manager of academic programs, and so we're here, and I'll answer questions throughout. So if there are questions in the room, or if you can use the chat on Zoom, and we'll answer those throughout. So don't hesitate to ask questions if something isn't clear, or if you have questions, just go ahead and shoot those our way. All right, so there we go. Most importantly, the first thing we want to talk about are conferral dates. So these are the dates during which the registrar actually confers your degree. It's usually near the end of the month. And so in each of these months, we also have a graduate faculty council meeting, during which if you've defended by the deadlines, for example, for December 2021, the last day to defend is November 19th, because then that gives us a little bit of time to get everything prepared for GFC, which will be the second Friday in December, which I don't know off the top of my head, but it's the second Friday of December. And then, so the GFC meets to vote, and your COGS chairs present the students who have defended. GFC votes and approves, and then Dean Weiss signs off on those conferrals, and they go to the registrar, and they are conferred at that time. So we have a number of conferral dates, as you can see. Again, the one for this fall is December, and then we have several in the spring, beginning in February. So one thing I'd like to remind you of, if you have applied for graduation for the fall and you miss the deadline, you have to be registered in the semester in which your degree is conferred. Okay, and there are a couple ways to do that, depending upon your situation. We're happy to talk about those. There's in absentia, there's final hours, but then there's regular registration as well. But if you don't defend and you applied for graduation for the fall, you do need to reapply for graduation for the spring. And that deadline is November 30th to apply for graduation for the spring. All of this information is on the GSB graduation information website. And if you haven't been there, can you guys see that? Did I switch screens to, so you can see the website online?
No.
No, okay.
Mm-mm.
So let me, okay. Well, Alex is going to need to do this. All right. So I will share the website. There it is. Now, yes? Awesome.
Yes.
So this is off of the GSBS website and it's under quick links. So you come up here to quick links. You go to enrolled student. And there you go, enrolled student resources. We have two links here that are important for our purposes today. One's graduation. And that's where it gives you information about, again, what I just talked about, degree approval, but all the deadlines for the upcoming conferrals. So here's the December 1, and then we start back in February. In absentia guidelines, so that's a way that if you defend later in the semester in the fall, you can register in absentia for the spring and still be registered in the spring semester. But those are really on a case-by-case basis. The other website is let's see if I can get there, is the dissertation and thesis guidelines. And this is really where a bulk of the information relative to writing and submitting your thesis or dissertation is found. It talks about Turnitin, which we'll discuss. It talks about ProQuest. More importantly, there are a number of templates here. You go in and use the templates, which I would highly encourage and recommend. And it gives examples. Alex will talk about copyright. And all this information you see here, Alex will discuss. But just want to let you know that this information that we're going to discuss today is also readily available on the website. We're also recording this and we'll post it somewhere. Is it on this page or the other page? We'll post it on this page as well. So there are a couple, I see some things in the chat, Tiffany. Are there questions? Or
No,
okay, thank you. All right. Okay, so we'll go back to the slides. Okay. So again, all those conferral dates and the appropriate deadlines for defending and submitting paperwork are all found on that page. Here are some important dates. You know, once you have determined your defense date, right? Say, okay, I'm going to defend November 22nd or whatever it might be. You know, ideally, and some of these are a little bit more flexible, and it depends on your committee and your PI. But the one that has the asterisk, the 1 week prior to defense, that one is pretty set in stone. We need to have you submit now Form 40 is done in Impact, so you can do that in Impact. And you also need to upload an abstract of your work, your vita, and your CV. That has to be done within a week because we still have some things on the back end that Tiffany will need to do, including sending out your announcement, and want to give everybody at least a week heads up. So that's the one that's really kind of set in stone. You know, ideally, a month before your defense, you should have submitted your dissertation or thesis into Turnitin. If you've registered for graduation either last semester or this semester, we are getting you access, or you should have access to the Canvas Turnitin course. If not, we've submitted paperwork to get you access. And so if it doesn't show up on your Canvas when you log in, let us know, but it should be there. You'll get a Similarity Report, which Alex will also cover. And typically, you know, you share that with your PI. If there are issues, you can correct them. Before then, you send it to your committee, and that's about 2 weeks. Again, and I think that's just, you know, taking into consideration the amount of time to read and provide feedback on your thesis or dissertation. So, you know, those are a little bit flexible. Again, that's discussions with your PI and your committee. And then once you defend and everything goes well, we highly encourage you to submit within 2 weeks after your defense your final dissertation or thesis to the Canvas Turnitin course again, and ProQuest. Again, that would be the thesis or dissertation that has been modified based upon your committee's feedback. So once all that's done, then you'd go through the upload process again. Yes, ma'am.
For the 1 week prior to defense,
upload an abstract via CV, and I understand that the abstract and vita are also part of the dissertation thesis, but what is the CV for?
That, from my understanding, is just to have for our records.
Okay. So it's not for anything, for example, that will be taken account of for the awards at convocation, like this.
No.
Okay.
That's a separate, that'd be a separate application process where they probably will ask for the same materials. This way we have it in impact.
Roxanna, the registrar's office wanted to clarify that form 40 needs to be submitted and signed 1 week prior.
Oh,
Can you repeat her question for the people on Zoom?
yes. So there was a point of clarification regarding the Form 40. It needs to be submitted and signed 1 week prior. The CV one. Okay. Oh, and then there's a question about the purpose of the CV. And so that's really to have it stored in our database, which is impact in the graduate school. Other questions? So again, the one, that 1 week time prior to defense is really the one that's set in stone. So again, here's the GFC meeting, second Friday of each month. And anybody happen to look up with that Friday? I guess it doesn't matter. But so we meet every month. But the important one is that GFC meeting during the month in which the degree will be conferred. So in December, that second Friday is an important deadline. We need to have the Form 43 completed and submitted at impact. The signature page and approval page. At that point, you can have electronic signatures, but later on, if you want original signatures, that can be updated for your dissertation or thesis to be bound. But for this initial, after at least 1 week before GFC, those can be electronic signatures. And then post-graduation information, and this is something that might catch some people off guard. So you've submitted everything, everything's fine and dandy. You finally get your submission approved. Then it's like, oh, I'm done. And then you get an email from Alex that says, oh, you have a number of things that, and they're relatively simple. It's completing a survey if you're a PhD student. It's signing up for our alumni database, and a few other things that are providing us your LinkedIn account information so we can stay in contact with you. So it's not anything that's exhaustive, but it's a list of 10, and I think Alex shows it later on. So it's a list of things that we ask you to do. All of that does have to be done before GFC meets. Okay. And then as that asterisk says, both forms will be submitted without the dean's signature. And then once GFC votes to approve, the dean will sign and that information will be forwarded to the registrar so they know that it's okay to confer that degree. All right. So before I turn over to Alex, something that we've initiated last year was the first full year. We did a pilot the spring before, but last year we really implemented it across all the programs. And it's Turnitin. And let me say that it's not meant to be punitive whatsoever. It's to help and guide and assist you in creating and protecting intellectual property and making sure that our code of integrity, honor is followed. And just to make sure, again, that you are properly producing an original piece of work. Okay. And it's just meant to help guide you. And so, as I've said, there is a Canvas course where you access Turnitin. And it's pretty simple. There are 2 submission assignments. One is the initial and one is the final. The initial upload, again, is about a month before your defense. That's when you submit it. You get the Similarity Report and you share that with your PI and discuss it if necessary. And Alex will go over the percentages with you. And then after you've made any, if any, changes based upon that similarity report, that's when you should share your dissertation or thesis with your committee. And then after you've defended and you've incorporated all the feedback from your committee, then you need to do it again. You need to do both the Turnitin and the ProQuest submission again. And again, usually within about 2 weeks of your defense. And I'll send out an email once I've officially heard from the program that you've successfully defended. I'll send you a congratulatory email saying good job, way to go, and then follow up with this information as well. So it's not something you have to remember. I will remind you. All right. Yes.
So if the similarity report comes back with employees for, was that the
So,
final comment
yeah,
last year?
Alex.
When you see those, if you see anything, whether it's in your initial or your final, just email me. I can look through the whole thing itself and just exclude it, and it'll change your percentage.
So the question was, what if you have a similarity report that's identifying your own, you're plagiarizing yourself? If you let us know, Alex can go in and manually exclude certain passages and information. So that will decrease your similarity report. It does. It happens it happens a lot. Yeah. All right. And I think that at this point, I will turn it over to Alex. Did you want, I've kept the camera on just so they could see me, but you want me to turn it off?
Yes,
All
you're
right.
also very taller than me,
All
so.
right. So I'm going to turn the camera off there. There you go.
I know I'm looking at.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. My name is Alex De Jesus. A lot of you will probably get to know me in these last few months of your degree. Some of you already know me. Hi. As Dr. Rabi discussed, this is not meant to be punitive. I did create instructions that I can drop in the chat later, or we can email them once this is over, and they will also be on the website by next week. There you go. Okay, so your similarity report. So it's pretty easy to do. You're just going to go to the course, turn everything in, and once you press submit, it'll take about, I would say 20 minutes to maybe a couple hours for it to load, just depending on how big your file size is. And you'll see these colors on the side by your grades. So right now our max is 24%. If there's anything above that and you see, it's your own source, or, it's just pulling up like your citations, or even like if it's just pulling up 3 words from like your title page, those can be excluded. You just have to let me know. I do check them, but it's more of just to make sure that you guys are following what you're supposed to do, especially in the final submission. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna stop sharing here. Sorry. And I'm gonna show you what it looks like on the website. I believe it's this one. Yes. So I think it's behind here. Okay. So this is what it looks like on my end when you log in. And let me switch over to student view really quickly. This is it. This is the Canvas page. Can everyone see it?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So this one is going to go in your initial one. So you'll click. It'll have a little submission page. Once you're done, it'll say this submitted. What you're going to do is you'll go to this submission page, or submission details, I'm sorry. Click that. This is the little tag that I was showing you. So this color is going to be based on the percentage that it detected. So if you click this, it takes a bit to load. So you're going to see a test paper. So this right here, it says it detected like 8%. This is just a sample page that I put in there. But these percentages, depending on if it's your own work, if it's citations or websites, these will vary in like their number. So as you can see, it pulled up, you know, this, or sorry, it was just a random paper that I had on my laptop. But it'll show you exactly which ones that it pulled from. And like I said, sometimes it will pull from your citations down here. So if you're comfortable putting in your paper without the submissions, or without the citations, I'm sorry, that's completely okay. We at least know that you're citing on the initial one. So we'll exit out of that. Oh, and one more thing, if you want to download it and send it to your PI, you just click this little arrow button right here. Any questions so far?
There's a question in the chat. So Jenny asked, when you turn into ProQuest within the 2 weeks of defense, does it require the approval page?
Okay. Jenny, we'll get to your question in just a bit. We're going to go over ProQuest as well. But you do not have to have the original signatures. That can be updated once you're conferred. So, where are we at? Stop here. And share here. So like I said before, depending on the color of the flag in your grade book, that's going to determine your percentage. So I showed you how to access everything. Once you submit, you click submission details and you click the little flag next to your name. And then here's another example in case you guys need a little more visualization. I know it helps. Okay, so the general format. So in the past, we usually used to go through everything that was included, but we're not doing that this year. So you guys have access to the GSBS website that Dr. Robbie showed earlier, and we'll actually go back to that right now. Sorry for all the movement. So, okay, everyone can see this, correct?
Yes.
So if you scroll down, and it takes a bit to get there, these will have all the templates exactly as it's supposed to be within your paper. You can change font, that's fine. I know not everyone likes Times New Roman. But there are specific fonts that you do need to do. And so if you scroll down, you can click this dissertation rubric. It's supposed to come up. Maybe not. Possibly, let's see. It did not. Okay, well, it's
It looked
supposed to,
like it was downloading something when you clicked on that link.
The PDF.
it should be a PDF.
Okay, well.
So
then
go to the download
download button, arrow.
button.
Oh,
in the
Oh, I'm so
browser.
sorry. Oh,
on the webpage. So the like.
oh,
Yes.
you use Firefox. I'm sorry. I use Chrome. I don't know. My apologies, guys. Okay. Let me share this one with you. And this one right here. So this is the rubric that you will be getting. And you can also go off of this. This is the rubric that I send you once you submit to ProQuest. So this is every little minor detail that I will be telling you guys about. Or I will tell you, you know, you're missing this, or it's not double spaced, or it's little nitpicky stuff, but we want to make sure that your papers are good because this is representing your work and we want to make sure you guys look the best that you can. So it's a couple pages long. If you have questions about it, you're more than welcome to email me. And it goes through all the content. Like I said, we're not going to go through all of this. It's available whenever you need it. Quotations, footnotes, appendices, because people do have them, abbreviations, and your vita. I do want to say, you do not have to fully put all of this information. If you do not want to, if you're not comfortable with it, we will also accept your CV in place of that. I think that's everything. So we'll stop there and go back to the PowerPoint. Okay, so that's the general format. We get a lot of people asking questions about third-party content because we know that you guys use a lot of outside sources. Sometimes you need permission for those. So what we do ask is that you get a sample letter from whoever owns it. If they do not say that you can use it, you have the option of redrawing stuff or redacting it just to make it easier for you. But you have to let us know if you have permission or if you do not have permission. And then those permission letters can be sent directly to us, and you can also upload them to your ProQuest submission. Are there any questions about third-party content?
I actually had a question about the Turnitin Similarity Report.
Sure, go ahead.
If we tell you in the first initial submission about which areas were taken directly from like our papers or whatnot, do we have to ask you again when we submit the final version, or will that be just automatically excluded because you manually excluded it the first time?
So it'll be excluded in your initial one. If you see it coming up again in your final one, you can just go ahead and email me.
Okay.
Are there any other questions in the chat or anything?
Elizabeth, does third-party content and copyright permissions include previously published images that you made yourself?
We will get to that. That's actually, I think, the next thing. Here you go. What if I want to use my previous work? Great question. So you need to determine who owns the copyright. A lot of the stuff that you guys submit, either in journals, other papers that you share with your colleagues or faculty members, someone owns the content. It's not necessarily you. So if it's your own work, you're free to use it. If it's held by the publisher, you have to get permission from the publisher. If it's held by you and one or two other people, you just have to make sure that you get permission from those two other people to use that work. And then we ask that you add a footnote wherever it's used. That way we know that you ask permission. Does that answer, Elizabeth? Cool, thanks.
Sorry, I have another question. So for some of the publishers on their own website, they do state that all works that you've submitted can be used for dissertation or personal reasons. Would we still have to get their signature or some kind of proof, or is it just like,
No,
can you just show the screen?
If it's a publisher that it's known that their stuff is able to be used for dissertation, then you don't have to. But a lot of the time you just have to make sure that if they do require permission, you let us know that you got it. Okay, any other questions about third party or your own work? Cool. So ProQuest, this is the big one that's going to take us a bit to go through because there's a lot of factors in it. Let me go ahead and show you what I'm talking about. So we go here and here. So this is ProQuest on my end. I will show you what it looks like on your end. So once you create an account, you will have this option to create a submission. So we're just going to go in and look at what's here. All of this stuff on the side, especially like these publishing and copyright stuff, we're going to go over in a little bit. I also created instructions for this specific thing too, because there are a lot of questions. So again, I can drop those in the chat in a bit. I can email them to you, or I can put them on the website as well. So the biggest thing about ProQuest is just making sure when you submit the first time, you take every step that you need possible to make sure that your copyright's covered, to make sure your binding is covered if you want those. To just make sure that all of your credentials are covered. So that includes your dissertation committee, any keywords you want in the abstract when they search you up, because once you submit here, your work is available worldwide through the web automatically, once it's approved. So we will go back to the PowerPoint real quick. Okay, so as I said, when you submit to ProQuest, you need to make sure that your dissertation committee members are identified, keywords and subject categories are identified. There is a copyright disclaimer that's available on the website. When you submit, you just have to sign that and upload it. It's just stating that you're agreeing to any copyright laws between ProQuest and the university. I don't know the specifics off the top of my head, but it's a fairly short read. It's no one's going to jail over it, I promise. And then you just have to make sure that your document is uploaded to these specifications. I know that sometimes depending on your figures or any tables that are in there, it could affect it, but as long as it's at least 600 DPI, you should be great. Are there any other questions before I continue? So when you're submitting to ProQuest, these are the 4 important things that you need to consider. What kind of publishing do you want? Is there sensitive information or unpublished data in your paper? Do you want to copyright your work? And do you want to have physical bound copies of your paper? So we're going to go through all 4 of these. Publishing your work. So as you saw in the submission page, you're going to have access to either traditional publishing, which is free. This basically ensures that your work will be published as soon as it's approved in ProQuest and sent off. They can search you up by name, subject category, university. It's pretty easy. It's the option that most students go through. The only difference between that and open access is the reach. I believe open access also has its own repository that you can search within ProQuest, but that's a $95 fee that you will have to pay with a credit card. And as I said before, all of your work will be put in the UT Health School repository as soon as it's approved. So going off of this, there's going to be some extra steps that you might want to take depending on what's going on with your work. So a lot of people that we've had go through this process have unpublished data. They're waiting on patents. Really any kind of academic red tape that you incur while you're doing this process, we can prepare for in case you need to delay when it's published. So we allow a year delay off the top, and you can select that in ProQuest. If you determine that you're going to need more than a year, you're going to have to email Dr. Robbie with a justification. I would suggest copying your PI too, just so they're aware of the situation. And your submission is not going to be discoverable in ProQuest or Google Scholar or any other repositories until that delay happens, or it ends, I'm sorry. Are there any questions about that? No? Okay. So, copyright. Copyright is completely optional. When you are doing the ProQuest submission, if you want a copyright, I suggest doing it through ProQuest because they will do all the legal paperwork for you. If you already have an existing copyright on stuff that's in your paper, you don't have to purchase another one, so you save yourself $75. That, as well as the open access fee, and then the fee for physical bound copies of your thesis, dissertation, all have to be paid with a credit card. As of right now, they cannot be paid through department. We're trying to figure out how to do that. If you do not want to do a copyright when you submit initially, you're gonna have to go through either the submission process again, and we can talk about that if you need to do that, or you have to file through copyright.gov. And I believe when you do copyright.gov, you yourself have to file everything. So if it's easier for you to just go through ProQuest, I would highly suggest that. But again, copywriting is optional. Are there any questions about that? No? Yeah, if you're willing to copyright, you should probably discuss that with your PI, Dr. Abbey suggested.
Elizabeth asked if use ProQuest for this.
Procards.
That I believe is a accounting department question. I don't know what ProCards allow at this point. So, okay. Physical bound copies. This is the issue that we incur a lot because in the past we would have the library do this. You guys would take the form, the department pay for it, you take to the library, they do the copies. You do not have to get your dissertation thesis bound if you do not want to. We don't require it. You don't need to give us a copy of it. If your department wants one, great. We don't need it. You don't have to do it. Completely up to you. So if you want a physical bound copy, you have to do it when you do your initial submission of ProQuest, because after that, it will not allow it. Even if you email them, we can't change the settings of your submission. If you decide later that you want to do that, these are some websites that Tiffany will send to you as well in an email, just in case they fall off for you. But these were also suggested by the library, so we know that they're good sources. So are there any questions about physical bound copies? There's different options on the ProQuest website. So the price varies. Okay, so the lovely questions that Dr. Robbie said that you're going to receive once you're approved are all of these lovely list of things. So again, you're going to have to submit the survey of earned doctorate if you're a PhD. You give us your postgrad plans, where you're going, LinkedIn, stuff like that. A copy of your updated CV for our records. We ask that you sign up for the GSBS alumni site. That way we can contact you for further, alumni events, or if we want you guys to come and speak to new students, it's great. There's always stuff going out for it. You can talk to Charlotte about it as well. And then this final thing, we ask that you complete the GSBS IPEA post survey. So this is something that we're doing as part of our strategic planning. We are implementing this for all of the students. If any of this does not get done, it will delay your conferral. We're not trying to be mean about it. We're not trying to make you guys stay in graduate school longer. Once this is done, you don't have to deal with it anymore. But this all needs to be done before GFC. Yes, ma'am.
So IPEA, is that for more of the linked interprofessional education one?
Yes, so Samantha.
Yes.
Okay, Samantha asked a question if the IPE was related to the interprofessional education component that we're all working on right now. It is. Initially, what's supposed to happen is when you come in, you take the pre-survey, and then when you leave, you take the post-survey. So we're doing things a little bit backwards, but it's okay. We're still taking your data and your, all your input, and we're using it to make our programs better for you guys. Yes.
So are they intended to be anonymous? Or no?
Yes, they're anonymous.
Okay, obviously, I haven't seen this one, but most of the surveys that come out of the graduate school, because if I'm the only student in my year in my discipline, they identify me immediately. So if we have, I guess I'll just contact one of you.
Yeah.
Becomes a problem, but so it's super common.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the question was, I'm sorry, if these surveys are anonymous. They are. They are specific to your email, but nothing that we pull identifies anything that will say I'm a student of this program or anything. So no worries, no one's gonna get in trouble.
Not from the graduate school.
Yes, not from the graduate school. No one's gonna get in trouble with us. Again, this list of things will be sent to you once I say that everything's been approved, your formatting is great, all your tables are where they're supposed to be. Your pages are fine, they match up to your table of contents. And again, it takes 5 minutes to do most of this. Dr. Rob will get a copy of your certificate once you complete the survey of earned doctorate, and he forwards those over to me, and we're gonna keep those in your student files. So everything that was in this presentation, including this PowerPoint, is gonna be on the website. So you'll have the deadlines, all of the conferral deadlines are on there, all the templates and examples, a lot more information as far as third-party content, submitting to ProQuest, Turnitin, more information about the publishing versus open publishing, the dissertation rubric, and all the resources that I created for the instructions will all be on this website. If there's anything that you have questions about, you can contact Dr. Robbie, me, or Tiffany. Yes. Yes, as I said, you can contact all three of us, any of us three. We will do our best to answer your question. What I've had in the past is if you're in the process of writing your dissertation, you can email me, I can look at it, just give you some general feedback before you do the whole submission process. And then, we can talk about it in case there's any other questions that you have. Are there any questions after all of this? Is it a lot to take in? I know it's like the third, fourth week of the school year. No? All right, here's Dr. Robbie.
All right. Thanks, Alex. All right, I'm back. So we will, who asked the question about ProCard? We'll look into the ProCard question to see whether or not that can be used for ProQuest, and we'll let you all know. I guess the first thing that I would do is I would make sure you have access to Canvas. If not, let us know. We just submitted that form recently. So if you just applied for graduation, you might not have it yet for the fall, but we will get you up there. Any other questions or concerns about anything before we say goodbye? Samantha, yes.
This doesn't really have to do with the dissertation or thesis, but as we move forward and we're trying to give back to the next generation of scientists, is there like an exit survey that's more particular to the program or even labs and stuff?
So not all programs have exit surveys. So the question was about exit surveys and provide constructive feedback for improving programs. We're working toward that. We just launched that biannual program survey last spring. We'll do that every 2 years. I know some programs have exit surveys. Ideally, that I know many programs are talking about implementing exit surveys. So I don't know if that answered your question or not, but yeah.
I guess more of, will it be there in time for next spring? And if not, is there anything that we could do as alumni to kind of chime in or?
So if it's program related, if you have and feel comfortable relaying that to the program director, COGS chair of your program, you could do that. If nothing else, you could always send me an email and tell me you want to remain confidential, and I will relay the feedback confidentially to the program. You're welcome. Anything else?
Kind of tangential. Somebody in the chat has a question.
Oh,
Is there any consequence if I apply for graduation in the spring, but somehow the career difference delayed?
so for the spring, So then, there are, depending on when you defend, there are some options. The big thing is that you have to be registered in the semester in which your degree is conferred. And so if your degree is conferred after July, you have to be registered for the fall semester. So, and again, there are some options. There's in absentia, there's final hours that can be explored depending upon when you actually defend in the spring. Again, you can look at those deadlines for spring conferrals. We don't have the fall conferral dates up yet, because we're still in fall 21. We don't have fall 22 yet, but as we get through the semester, we're just working on that calendar right now. So they'll be up soon. So I would say communication, as if there's going to be an issue, let us know, and we can, with your PI and the program, talk about options.
The next question is, there a form or application for in absentia process?
Yes, there is a process for an absentia.
As far as the spring conferral dates, do we need to have defended and had our dissertation approved prior to commencement in order to participate in spring commencement, or is it just registering to graduate allow us?
We typically have allowed people to participate in commencement within, I forget, do you remember, Alex? Is it? Yeah. I mean, if you meet the June conferral requirements, we typically allow you to participate in commencement in May.
Okay.
Is that accurate?
Yes.
Yes.
Next question is the survey designed for all graduate students or only PhD IBMS program?
Which survey?
It's just graduate school, so it includes MSBS and.
The IPE survey or the?
Yes,
Yeah, yep. And so, as Alex mentioned, we're doing that a little backwards right now. So this entering class cohort, the first year students, was the first class to get this pre-survey starting this year. And so we understand, so they'll actually, when they graduate in 4 or 5 years, they'll do the post-survey. But hopefully some of you have participated in some of the link activities, and we can have some positive or constructive feedback for that IPE survey, post-survey.
It should be noted that each individual school has their own post-IPE, pre-IPE surveys going on. So if it's not covered under us, it will become covered under, if they're in dental school, if they're in health sciences. Stuff like
Yeah,
that.
so each school has their own specific IPE surveys that they're disseminating. Yes, Courtney. So, yeah, so I know that they are still discussing the format. A lot of people like the combined commencement. So we would still have, the graduate school would still have a separate hooding ceremony like we did. And then it would be a school-wide commencement. Those are the kinds of discussions that are going on. No dates have been set yet. Anything else? Well, thank you for attending, and anything comes up, don't hesitate to reach out. We'll be happy to answer. And again, this will be on the website. We'll post, and once it is posted, we'll send out an email. We have the handouts that we'll post on the website, and we can also send out an email. But if there's anything you need, just let us know.
Thank you all so much for doing this workshop and the updates for us.